We continue here on the Chase Robinson Show. Glad you're joining us today, and we are excited about our next guest here as we're going to talk with the new head coach of the Jacksonville State Gamecock football team, Coach Charles Kelly, as a big day yesterday, first signing class for Coach Kelly there at Jacksonville State. And so we're going to discuss that now. Coach Kelly, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing good. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, appreciate your time. As always, again, big day yesterday, National Signing Day. And I know we talked to you a few days after you were hired at Jax State. First of all, just how are things going? I know it's been hit the ground running, hiring the staff, getting a recruiting class together, but how have things been since taking the job at Jax State?
It's been really good. It has been busy. It actually has been, I've enjoyed, putting the staff together, making sure we get the right people in the building. And, of course we had to hit the ground running, recruiting. I don't think a lot of people realized, even the guys that had signed early in December, because of the head coaching change, they were able to, they could have signed somewhere else, if they had chosen. So, we had to make sure we went back. I was familiar with a lot of those guys, but, just creating relationships and making sure, we have the same vision that those young men had. That was important. So, we also had to, we had to use the portal, the winter portal, and we felt like there were some positions that we needed to, I wouldn't necessarily improve on, but just from a number standpoint, we just were very low, when we looked at the roster management part of it.
So on signing day yesterday, you brought in 10 high school seniors, a couple early enrollees, and then 11 were signed out of the transfer portal. One thing that stood out to me, though, 12 of the signees from the state of Alabama, 7 from Georgia, 6 from Florida. Talk about, first of all, just kind of the importance of recruiting this part of the country, especially for a school like Jax State.
Well, first of all, I think no matter what school you're at, if you just take and you take a 5-hour radius around your school, that it's a lot easier to recruit. When you don't have to fly guys in, it's easier on their families. I know football has changed a lot, but we're very lucky where we're at because the states that touch us, are so good in football, very good coaching, and it starts in the state of Alabama. I've told people before, Alabama produces as many good college football players as anybody else in the country, and a lot of NFL players. And when you look at the history of Jax State, and I know that from the era that I'm in, or I've been here, you take the guys within 10-mile radius of here. Some of the great players. You take Eric Davis, Montressa Kirby, Eric Mims, Delvin Hughley, and then this past year, J. Rock Swain. All these. These guys are within 15-minute drive of Jacksonville. So we've got really good players, and my philosophy is you recruit out. So you want to start close and then work your way out. And then, of course, the states that touch us. Georgia, of course, is right now, I think, per capita is putting more players in the NFL than, any other state in the last couple of years. And then, of course, Mississippi, Florida. And then, you take Tennessee. Tennessee traditionally has not been a recruiting powerhouse. But when you look at the city of Nashville and Murfreesboro, down through that area, it's the fastest growing part of the country. So just makes sense that if there's more people there, there's going to be, more athletes.
Jax State first-year head football coach Charles Kelly joining us now, talking about National Signing Day yesterday. Just talk for a second also about just kind of the balance of recruiting high school guys, but also guys out of the portal, and kind of your approach to that, especially heading into your first year at Jax State.
Well, I do think the portal creates opportunities for young men to, maybe better their situation. It's not always a bad thing. It creates opportunities for us as well. I kind of take I look a little bit at the NFL model. Most of the successful teams in the NFL, all of the successful teams, build their team through the draft. And then they use free agency to, for certain needs. And I think that's kind of been my approach is we want to build this team through high school recruiting. Development is the number one key. And in today's age of college football, development is hard because, development takes time and it takes consistency. You have to do the same things over and over. But we want to be able to do that, build with the high school players, and then, when we have needs, be able to use the portal to fill in those needs. After the bowl game, the roster was, very low on scholarship players, for a Division I team. So we felt like we had to use the portal to fill some needs that, we needed. And I think those guys have come in and, they fit right in and, been working very hard.
As far as a couple of the guys out of the transfer portal, I wanted to ask you about one of those, Rod Elston. He's from right here in East Alabama, from Oxford High School. He went to Auburn, was a safety. I know you're very familiar with him, having been at Auburn. What is Jax State getting in Rod Elston?
Well, first of all, he's a great young man. He's very smart. He understands the game. He understands, the work ethic that we want to have. I think he'll be a good example for younger players, just to show how you go about things on a daily basis. I had more experiences with him because I coached him every day in practice. And, I think, Rod played in some games for us, played on special teams this year. He was behind a couple of really good, talented players. Another local guy, Sylvester Smith. And I felt like if you give him the opportunity, he's gonna compete, and he's gonna have a chance to help this team.
Another player I wanted to ask you about out of the transfer portal, quarterback Gavin Wimsatt from Kentucky. He spent some time at Rutgers, then Kentucky. Saw quite a bit of action this year, playing against some SEC teams. What stood out to you about him, and what made you want to bring him to Jacksonville State?
Well, first of all, he is also a great young man. He's been a really good leader, very humble, but he just wants to work. He wants an opportunity to compete, and that's the kind of guys you want to recruit. As far as my experience with him, we played Kentucky this year, and another guy started the game, and relatively early in the game, they bring Gavin in, and you can see the talent. He's a big guy, 6'3", about 225. He can run. He's athletic, and he's got a really good arm. He can really throw the football. So, I think in all of college football right now, but in this conference especially, you got to have guys that can do both. You can't win every game by just running all the time or throwing. You got to be able to do both, and I think he has that skill set. And I really like his mindset and how he approaches the game, or how he approaches workouts. We haven't got to game situations yet, but playing against him, he was a very impressive young man.
Charles Kelly, Jax State head football coach, joining us post-National Signing Day. We mentioned some of these high school guys, quite a few from the state of Alabama. One of those, tight end Luke Gilbert from Pisgah High School. He was great in high school. Just having a chance to watch those guys. Very, very talented. Talk about him. Also, Jamison Sissom from Etowah High School. Again, sort of a local guy. Talk about what those two guys will bring to the Gamecocks.
Well, first of all, both of those guys are, they played everything on the field. Luke, I mean, he played both offense and defense, and, he's a really good athlete. He's been productive on both sides of the ball. We feel like both of those guys, with Jameson, he also played quarterback, played on defense. They're both multi-sport athletes that can really do everything. I just feel like when you recruit guys, especially that play quarterback, they may not play quarterback when they get to college, but it's evident that, they're the best athlete on the team. And, all the things they can do athletically, they bring something to you. I think both of those guys, they could play either side of the ball. Our mindset is to use them on offense, to be able to get the ball in their hands. Somebody asked me a question yesterday. They were like, well, Coach, you brought in 3 tight ends. And, I know from a defensive standpoint, when you're going against teams that have big guys that can move and are athletic, you really create a mismatch situation for defenses. And that's kind of what Coach Trickett and I were looking for, are some guys that were athletic, that have good size, length. Both of those guys have that, and they're very smart football players. I think, Kirby's done a really good job at Georgia of having those guys, and, it makes it hard to defend when you have big guys that are athletic.
Do you feel like all of your needs were met here in this signing day? Do you feel like all the positions are in a good situation after either transfer portal or bringing in high school guys?
Yeah, I do. I feel good with where we're at right now. We will, we'll use the spring portal to fill in a little bit. One of the things, listen, to win football games, it all starts up front. I think Rick Trickett has done a tremendous job of recruiting and developing, our offensive line. I thought we got a couple of, really good players, there to come in with some of the guys that we have already. I felt like we needed to improve size-wise on the defensive line. From a total portal and high school, we signed 5 defensive linemen, and those defensive linemen have good size, and they've been very productive. Christopher Johnson, the guy from Montgomery, he is a good-sized young man. He was once committed to Mississippi State. We got on him right when we got here. And then another high school guy that we got out of Georgia, Quay Hood, this guy had 28 tackles for a loss in 11 games. And, he's a good-sized young man. So, and then Ian Mitchell plays outside linebacker over at Pleasant Grove. He's another guy, very productive, had 19 tackles for a loss and 14 sacks. And, I don't care where you're playing. You have that many tackles for loss and sacks. And I'm a firm believer. You do it in high school, you're going to do it in college. You do it in college, you're going to do it in the pros. So we look for protection.
So you got signing day under your belt. What's next, just as you look to build the program? I know spring practice will be coming up. What's kind of next, though, as you build this Jacksonville State program?
Well, first of all, I think our director of sports performance, Will Wright, has done an incredible job with our guys since they've been back in school. I've been able to see them work out in the weight room, the work they've done, out on the field. We will get back Monday. I gave, our coaches off today and tomorrow because they work tirelessly. Everybody in this building. Everybody thinks it's just the coaches that recruit these players, but we have a personnel staff, a recruiting staff, our operations people. Everybody's involved in the recruiting process here, and they've done a tremendous job. But watching Will with these guys in the offseason, you can already see the development. We'll get back on Monday. We'll start what we call our fourth quarter program, which we're able to be out on the field with the players. We're limited in the time that we can be with them, but it'll be good time for our coaches to be with them. And, we'll start finding out where we're at from a conditioning and strength standpoint. that we'll do that for about a month, and then we'll start spring practice March 11th. We spread it out. We'll go about 3 days a week, and then we'll have our spring game. It'll be April the 17th, Thursday night, and we're looking forward to. We're just focused on development right now. Somebody asked me about a depth chart and starters yesterday. I'm like, I have no idea. The only thing I can tell you is we're going to play the best players.
Well, we're looking forward to it. First-year head coach Charles Kelly of the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Coach, really appreciate you taking a few minutes with us this morning, talking signing day, talking Jax State football. Looking forward to talking to you again soon as spring practice gets underway. But thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, you as well. That is Jax State head coach Charles Kelly as he gets ready for year one as head coach of the Gamecocks.